After the success that was Dead or Alive 2, the hype for Dead or Alive 3 was through the roof, even after an unusual decision. The GameCube, PlayStation 2 and Xbox were competing head to head, and a decision was made between Microsoft and Koei Tecmo to make Dead or Alive 3 an exclusive to the Xbox. For a Japanese company, especially at the time to work on making their fighting game exclusive to a British-owned company, this was quite a huge gamble. Itagaki stated that it was due to the Xbox having the most processing power, which was true, although being the new kid on the block it was a huge risk to take. Dead or Alive 3 was released as a launch title for the Xbox in 2001, and though the game was received remarkably well, the low sales rate of the Xbox in eastern regions led to it being a commercial failure in Japan. However, the story in the West was a success. Dead or Alive 3 became the token fighting game of the Xbox for quite a while and sold remarkably well. In fact, to this day it's the highest selling Dead or Alive game. To this day it's selling over 2 million copies and become one of the highest selling Xbox games in the original Xbox run. But was it hype? Was it the right time? Or is this just a gem? The first thing you're going to notice is the graphics in this game. While Dead or Alive 2 Ultimate rebuilt the game using this game's engine, it still suffered from the fact it's a rehash, previous stages that have been around for quite a while, whereas Dead or Alive 3 was built from the ground up to utilise the best of those abilities. The character models are on par with Dead or Alive 2, however, being that they were initially designed for this system, the light and shadows here seem to just bounce off Dead or Alive 3's character models much more naturally. The game introduced some amazing new stages with a lot of detail, like the snowy mountaintop or the forest or the cage. I do enjoy these stages, and there's no lie that they are visually appealing and have some variety. With that though, I will have to say the stages just don't compare to the stages in Dead or Alive 2. They may have a much better background presence like in the aquarium or the gigantic window outside, but I just don't think the locales are as good as stuff we saw in Dead or Alive 2 like the Great Wall, the disco stage, the rooftops. They may have less going on in the background, but they had a much more noticeable personality that shined through. The locales felt like you were visiting different parts of the world, whereas Dead or Alive 3 seems to be much more contained within buildings with a few exceptions. Dead or Alive 3 stages seem to have a focus on smaller rings for banging your opponents against the wall. This is more of a personal opinion though, and if you enjoy the stages in Dead or Alive 3 more, then that simply just means they appeal to you more. I do think there's enough differences here to give Dead or Alive an atmosphere that differs enough from other games in the series, and has that nice early 7th gen feel that a lot of people love, so I can understand that the game was amazing for its time and why people have so much attachment towards it. The graphics were incredible for the time, and I would go as far as to say the PlayStation 2 or GameCube wouldn't have been able to have the visual fidelity to run this game, and even to this day, after 20 years, it still holds up as a visual treat. The character roster here is bigger than Dead or Alive 2, with some interesting new faces. Christie, a British assassin, is a very fast striker, however her strength is focused on the pacing of her strikes and switch-ups. A few slaps delivered can stun your opponent, and her strength comes with the follow-up. Christie can best be described as a switch-up character. Hitomi made her original introduction here. Her fighting style comes a lot from Ain in the previous game, as he has now become Hayate. Hitomi is another fast striker with wide kicks, however she has a very weak throw game. Hayabusa is like a mixture between Ryu and Kasumi. He has the speed of Kasumi with the technical side more similar to Ryu when it gets into things like throws. Dead or Alive 3 introduced Hitomi, one of my favourites, but Dead or Alive 3 also introduced my least favourite character of the series by far, Brad Wong. Brad Wong's fighting style is unique and similar to Helena's. He can get into stances that can cause much more combos, but also with him lying on the ground, which can make him much more vulnerable. The reason I don't like him is his whole character. I'm not the biggest fan of Base, being that, as I don't mind comic relief characters, I just don't find the joke of a man running around chasing his daughter to stop her dreams when she's in her mid-20s pretty funny. Red Wong's long run joke is that he's an alcoholic. I get that the Drunken Fist is a popular fighting style, especially with the popular Jackie Chan movies Drunken Master, but the appeal of a lot of that movie was the incredible charisma Jackie Chan brought to that role. Brad Wong has none of that charisma, and just comes off as a creep, like how he acted around a 17-year-old Ayane. But what really irks me about him is this ending, which shows him giving up the drink and possibly better himself. But then the talk came, hey wait, we can't have a drunken master without drink, so it just became a character that loafs around with nothing to contribute to the story. Okay, I've spoken enough about this dude, but let's discuss the returning characters, who you'll be shocked at how their stories have changed. Oh, sorry, not shocked, I mean very underwhelmed. Tina continues her celeb career while her father's chasing her around like a bad smell. Jenny has entered the tournament to prove his worth again. It's always kind of made me scratch my head Jenny got the cover art for this game. He's not a bad character, but he's a side character in the background of the ninja's main story. It's like putting Just King on the cover of a Tekken game. He's a great character and a lot of people's favourites, but you'd be questioning where the machine is when the plot revolves mainly around him. Lei Feng has entered the tournament yet again to prove her worth and beat her longtime rival Jen Li. I like the fact Jen Li is I want to beat everyone, while Lei Feng mainly is just like I want to beat you specifically. You have to admire that girl's moxie. Leon wants to be the strongest man in the world yet again and hardly interacts with the rest of the cast as per usual. Genfu is back to help earn more money for the research, and Zack is there looking for more money to fund his island, which we won't get in any more into. The main character of this story is Ayane, and to tell you the story of this game then I'm going to have to explain some of the history. Shiden was married to Ayami. Yes, Ayane's mother's name is Ayami. Keep up. Raido, who you may remember as the first game's antagonist, is her father, and she's the half-sister of Kasumi and Hayate, and is a year younger than Kasumi. Her birth, however, is a very touchy subject to get into. A year after Kasumi was born, Raido returned to the village and met Ayami, where he proceeded to do the worst thing possible, beginning with R. This is an aspect I honestly have never felt comfortable with in the series. I believe subjects in this matter can be discussed in the media when done the right way. In fact, I think it's something we should all discuss more in a healthy manner. But here in Dead or Alive, and an otherwise cheery, ridiculous fun called the game, although it doesn't do anything offensive with this plot point, it just really feels remarkably out of place here. To have such a horrific real-life event be part of the lore in a game otherwise focused on ninja clans, evil organisations and cloning, it's just odd, but it's something I have to mention. Nonetheless, 9 months later Ayane is born. Unfortunately, for unspecified reasons, Ayane is given to the Hajimon clan and put under the care of Genra, who became her adopted father. Many saw Ayane in the village with disdain, viewing her as a filthy street urchin due to the history of her birth. Basically, they never rooted this poor girl. Though Ayane, Kasumi and Hayate started off being great friends as children, when Ayane finds out the revelation of them being related and who her real mother is, she begins to harbour a lot of resentment. This causes a rift between her and Kasumi. However, her and Hayate remain close. In fact, he's the only person that she truly trusts. Ayane was actually there when Raido attacked the village and paralysed Hayate, and was the one who told Kasumi the truth in order to make her leave the village and become a runaway shinobi. Genra then asks Ayane would find Kasumi and ending her permanently, a task Ayane takes on with much glee. She spent the first 2 games chasing down Kasumi, confronting her, only to fail the many times she does. I personally believe she is holding back since, as you'll see in later games, she still has a connection to her. Little does she or anyone know that Genra is working with Dotek in order to gain more power. He's actually the one who opened the portal for Tengu in the last game in order to cause some havoc. Daddy number 2 is also an ass. No wonder Ayane is so angry the whole time. She hasn't had much luck with family. Lena also gets a lot more play in this game. She has a new assistant who appears out of nowhere, a British woman named Christy. Although she starts out looking like she is there just to assist Selena, her real motive is much more sinister, as all British people are. Victor Donovan has asked her would win in the Dead or Alive tournament, promising to answer all the questions she has and if she manages to win. Christy has been tasked with keeping an eye on Helena, with him working with her and Kasumi Alpha in order to create their own evil group. When Helena manages to slip away, she runs into Damon and asks for his assistance in assassinating Victor Donovan. When he originally assassinated Fane Douglas, Donovan left him there to face the music, with him barely managing to escape. But the thing that really takes Damon off is that he never got paid, so he's more than happy to join Helena in taking him down. This all comes to a head-on battle as Helena runs into Christy, who reveals her true intentions. Damon recognises her as she has worked with him before and manages to beat her up, and Kasumi Alpha with Helena's help. They manage to take down the 2 of them, but in the scuffle Alpha and Christy manage to escape. Ayane and Hayate manage to finally track down Genra after figuring out he's been working with Dotek. Though he's much more powerful than before dealing with Dotek, he has used genetic enhancements to turn himself into a much more powerful ninja, adopting the new name Omega, after the experiments on him were labelled Project Omega. Ayane and Hayate battle furiously, but the fight doesn't go their way, at least before your boy Ryo appears to offer his hand, and together they take down Omega. Ryu must be a fan favourite of Koei Tecmo because this is the third time in a row Ryu has appeared just in the nick of time to try and decide the battle, and it won't be the last. When the smoke clears, Ayane says goodbye to her adoptive father, taking his weapon to use for herself. The gameplay of Dead or Alive 3 is almost identical to Dead or Alive 2 Ultimate, seeing as they use the same engine. The whole system of up or lower and down was originally implemented here, which it deserves its props for. Honestly, there's nothing really substantially different from this previous game I mentioned other than one small thing, and that's the difficulty. Dead or Alive 3 toned down the difficulty a lot. The game is just as fast paced, but the CPU of your opponents I find is much less brutal. They don't continually hit you when you're down and consistently pummel you with combos that take out 1/3 of your health. On the normal mode, I didn't lose a single match, and that's not me bragging. In normal mode in 1 and 2, I took a few deaths here and there. Even on the harder difficulties in this game, I don't think it even compares to the previous games. The fighting still remains as top notch as ever, although I do feel it lacks a bit of the thrill that you get when Dead or Alive begins to get difficult. This game also has the worst boss in the series by far. The final battle with Genra, you're given a different camera view from behind the shoulder, as you try and get closer to him, dodging or sidestepping his long range attacks. Managing to get close and land the combo that throws Omega on his back will cause an explosion, unless you manage to block quickly. The reason I'm just not too fond of it is because you've been practicing a certain way. Adding in a new gameplay style just for this section with these rules would be infuriating if not for the fact it's ridiculously easy. Once you know the routine to block when you get close and keep rushing towards him, this boss can be defeated without breaking a sweat. A final boss, especially in a fighting game, is supposed to be a difficult challenge, something that tests all the skills you've learned to get to this point. So just to switch it up like this just doesn't feel like an accomplishment. All the previous modes return: Team Battle, Theater, Survival Mode and Tag Mode, which are all still as fun as ever, although I haven't seen any substantial differences since the previous game. Dead or Alive has become a staple for costumes. I was pretty hyped to see what this game had to offer, and sadly I was left pretty disappointed. We have Theater Mode, where you could watch the endings from the story mode, CG cutscenes similar to the Tekken endings. One big positive is that Dead or Alive 3 had the best endings in the series. The game had some comedic endings, but also serious endings that blended in well. It was really nice to see characters like Lei Fang and Hitomi be shown respect as fighters rather than just being viewed as an airhead. Unfortunately, the story mode is short, so if you go through these one by one, you could probably get it done within an hour. Going from games with costumes reaching the double digits, it was a shame to see how lacking the unlockables were. Most characters have only 1 or 2 extra costumes, and the methods to unlock these are much more complex than in any other Dead or Alive game. Instead of unlocking a costume for completing the story or time attack mode, the majority of unlockables are found here in survival mode. Get up to 20 wins in survival mode with Hitomi, Kasumi and Amano beating time attack with a 70% hold. I went into this game blind and it left me confused how I was even unlocking half of them until I looked it up after. And the costumes you get for defeating all these different conditions are the same ones we've already seen in Dead or Alive 2. I have no problem in unlocking certain costumes with different conditions. It gives a reason to play these games more. But don't just make it rehashes or just a standard design, otherwise it feels like it's just stretching out the contents by making you run through hoops. There was something that was released that I have mixed feelings about. When Dead or Alive Ultimate came out, it had a booster pack in the disc which would unlock extra costumes for Dead or Alive 3. Unfortunately, the way to unlock is by pinging online to download the costumes. Of course, the problem is when this was released, hardly anyone had access to online, unless you are a rich girl. With the Xbox Live being down now, that means on original hardware and on the 360, which is backwards compatible, there is no way to actually download any of these costumes. While saying this, these costumes are automatically unlocked when playing on the Xbox One with backwards compatibility, which is cool, and these costumes are bonuses, so I shouldn't be too peeved about it, but with the barren amount of unlockables this game actually has, they are sorely missed. As for the unlockable characters, there is one, Ein, which is what Hayate went by before regaining his memory as such. He has no real canon existence here and no story for him. I'm not going to complain about seeing him here. Ein plays almost identically to Hitomi with his karate moves, so he could almost be considered a reskin. I'm guessing since Hayate is in this game, they mix these 3D models with Hitomi's animations. The thing about unlockable characters though is that if you run through the difficult hoops to unlock this character, you would expect them to be someone really powerful like Omega or something. But still, at least Ein is something. You can say the unlockables aren't important much in a fighting game, especially to this day, but I view unlockables as something that offers a lot more replayability, especially in this time of fighting games. with the Xbox Live being down, hell, even the fact that during this game release most people didn't have access to it, then I find the unlockable aspect something to really sink your teeth into these kind of fighting games. Tekken was filling its roster up, had unlockable secret characters coming out the wazoo, and Mortal Kombat would debut the Crypt and Deadly Lines the following year, that added a lot more replayability and variety to the game. Games their enjoyment and packing the game with extras. I feel this was a result of the game being rushed to release as launch title on the original Xbox. The theatre mode and endings are cool, but being honest, you'll unlock all the endings pretty quickly. Overall, the unlockables in this game left me severely disappointed. I think every Dead or Alive game has something that makes it stand out from the others, except for this one. And I hate to say it, barring the theatre reception. It's a fun game, but with the time between the release of Dead or Alive 2 and 3 being the shortest between any of the games, and building this game from the ground up for a new console, the majority of the focus was placed on just getting the fighting right. I have a friend who says Dead or Alive 3 is his favourite because he played it when he was young. I just don't have that effect because I don't view this game with rose-tinted glasses. Dead or Alive 3 is a great game. You're going to have a fun time playing it, but it pales in comparison to the other games in the series that simply overshadow it. It's a game with great atmosphere, fun fighting, and as much as I'm digging on this game, it's not a bad game. Of course you're going to have fun playing it, it's fun to play, and maybe it will be able to stand on its own if not for Dead or Alive 2 Ultimate. You may think it's unfair to compare the definitive version of Dead or Alive 2 to the standard version of 3, but I'm looking at it from the perspective of the games as they are now, and if Dead or Alive 2 offers so much more using the same engine, then Dead or Alive 3 loses a lot of its appeal. If you're going to say to me what you're talking about Dead or Alive 3 is one of the best games, then I honestly want you to give a replay of Dead or Alive Ultimate, then play Dead or Alive 3, and you'll see the drop off in content drastically. I went into this game with no preconceived notions, and gave it a fair shot. And being that I find something usually makes the Dead or Alive game stand out, but I didn't love it, it's just more Dead or Alive, and if you love the core mechanics you're going to have a good time. Although out of all the series, Dead or Alive 3 is the one I forgot the most of, and sometimes being forgettable is even worse. Dead or Alive 3 is a great game, but the only reason I'd say to pick out this game is if you want a less challenging game to start out with, or have a fondness for the movies which Dead or Alive 3 has. I can say it has the best endings by far in the series. The core mechanics are great, the characters are still amazing, and I can recommend this game to anyone who enjoys Dead or Alive. Somehow this is the only game you have access to, it's still a solid game and a fun time. And one good thing is that the game goes for basically pennies now, so you're not going to break the bank giving this game a shot, or if you want this one to start off your Dead or Alive collection. Dead or Alive 3 is a game that I had a great time with, and you will too, though it remains the most forgettable one I've played so far, which just goes to show the high quality the series has built up to this point.